So hello King's Church, Kristen here. I'm up in central London. Well, actually I'm in the West End. To be honest, I'm actually I'm just right, well I'm in Hanover Square. Let me turn the camera around and you'll be able to see. So this is the park in Hanover Square, and just over there, those white buildings that you can see behind that, you get onto Regent Street, and kind of diagonally past the corner of the tree you would hit Oxford Circus. So that's where I am. I'm heading up for the Jesus March this morning, and I'm doing this experimental video on behalf of what will be hopefully become a kind of a regular on YouTube and Facebook, little short podcasts out there to share what we're doing, share the news. So I'm going up for the Jesus March now. 40 years ago, just over 40 years ago, according to the official records, although I dispute this, I actually think there were some earlier marches. There was what was called the London March, which gave birth then to the March for Jesus, which now has become the Jesus March. And so I was actually on that march. It was around February time. No, it was in March. I think it was in March. Whatever it was pouring with rain on the day. And Judith and I went up with Judith. I just started going out with Judith. And so we came up together with some friends from university, which is where we were, and on that march we had a photograph which we still have at home, where I'm holding an umbrella covering myself to keep myself dry, and Judith is getting soaked, and it has been a source of conversation ever since. But we did not know that here we would be 40 years later, still married. Well, we weren't married then, but still married. And I'm heading up, and I'm going to be meeting up some other folks from King's Church just down that direction soon. We're going to meet near Marble Arch, is where they start today. We're going to finish in Trafalgar Square, and we're going to worship around Trafalgar Square. and the whole flow, if you like, the theology and the idea of the march, you think, why do we do it? We're not protesting, which is why they've rebranded it as the Jesus March rather than March for Jesus, because everyone's marching for something nowadays. It's actually a process of taking worship and prayer onto the streets. It's the flip side of the kind of, when we talk about the presence of Jesus, which is in his people. And we want to be present in the communities that we are, and we carry that presence with us. That there is a theological kind of position that our worship and our prayer and our public space and our presence in those spaces is part of the way in which we leaven society. Not necessarily at the strategic level, but at the kind of the operational level. That we want to put worship back into the heart of who we are as a people, as a nation. And so, although it will probably be a much smaller start, not dissimilar, I think there were about 18,000, or that's what they're expecting. I think more turned up on the day. So nowhere like the big marches that perhaps been going on recently. But the march grew, and it kind of culminated with what they refer to as the day to change the world, when in around 200 countries around the world, I think they were aiming for every nation on earth, some sort of public worship and presence was taking place. And there were over 2 million people just in Brazil alone. There was something like 21 million people, I think, took part in that march. And you say, well, what happened after all of that? Well, after the 2000, there was an explosion of the gospel and the Christian faith around what we refer to now as the 1040 window. That's the area, the kind of latitudes 10 and 40, and which most of the world's unreached, or that people lived, people who'd never had an opportunity to hear about Jesus. There was an explosion of the growth of the church in that region after that particular march. So it's easy, you can always, with the benefit of hindsight, you can be cynical, or you can see by faith the effects of taking worship and prayer onto the streets. So I'm going to throw in some other comments as we go through today. And we'll let you know what's going on. Obviously, it's always going to be fun when we run into Nigel. Nigel's always so loud that he'll be a great benefit to what we're doing here. Here you go, just giving you a bit of a view of Hanover Square. I'm regularly down here because I do stuff up in central London. The Lord spoke to me about doing ministry into the Westminster area. This is not quite Westminster; it's the West End. But anyway. So for the time being, I will say goodbye. I'm going to walk up the road to Marble Arch, and hopefully join some other King's Church folks there. So until then, I'll see you. Bye.